everyone. Um, Great to see you on this windy, chilly day. I would like to call this meeting of the MetroPlan Executive Board to order. Today is April 2nd, 2026. May I have roll call?
Good afternoon. This is Member Peshalkai.
soon. Just want to ask you very quickly if there are any aspects you would wish to emphasize. You're still listening. We can still talk to them. Anything that you'd like to emphasize out of this list or the one I kind of rattled off from before, or something new that you would like to add that has occurred to you since then.
Thank you. Board, questions, comments?
Kimberly. Thank you, Chair Sweet. For me, the really important ones, I mean, they're all important, but the safety and that other modes of transportation aren't an add-on, that they should be one of the top priorities with planning and design.
Can you pull up the slide? The
Maybe.
slide, just haven't seen again.
Sure I can. Maybe not. It's not behaving. Page up. Forward. There we go.
Thank you.
So Dave, when they come out with their, like summary
Mhm.
and send it out, I assume. Again,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're close to wrapping up. And so just an opportunity to take another shot at this, make sure that our points are being emphasized. And so happy to share what we just heard from Mayor Daggett. Talk to the hand.
These the key takeaways from the entire tour around the state?
Yeah, I loaded all 42 pages and let them let AI take a whack at it. If you look at your staff report, it expands on these, but I think this is fairly succinct.
It's great. Yeah. I'm glad that other parts of the state are asking for similar things.
Hopefully it resonates with ADOT and we'll see it implemented in the long range plan.
Okay, as we move forward, knowing that we have these key takeaways, I think it'd be very helpful if MetroCon could produce some talking points when we go down to the state legislature to talk and kind of share some of these talking points and with our community, talking transportation, because sometimes, we get all this knowledge about transportation, we're in the mix and we know all these things, but these are key fundamental things that the community wants to make sure are addressed. And our community that aren't tapped into transportation or aren't tapped into things, they need to understand it. And this is very helpful for that education. So if we could get some talking points, just like that, or maybe even a little more in depth that ties that to some local issues, that would be really helpful.
Thank you for Chair Sweet. As I'm looking through the information in the packet and wanting to dive a little deeper into item up there. What I think we've talked about this before. What stands out to me is that this is focused, auto focused, and when I think about safety, I mean, that is clearly continuing to dominate the conversation for obvious reasons, but there's all these other modes of transportation that are impacting our communities. And I don't know about you all, but it's not uncommon for an electric scooter to come screaming across the street or whatever. And that's another component of safety is the various modes that are used for transportation and some kind of training and criteria associated with the use of those roads or sidewalks. Yeah, they're like, what I would give to be an 8-year-old today. Because back when I was 8, if I got on that little motorcycle, I would be in jail. And today, the motorized means of communication or of transportation is so abundant and so diverse. Yet our rules and regulations associated with use in order to maintain safe streets and safe sidewalks has been compromised because we haven't been able to keep up with the mode. And so when I think of safety, that's a component for me. I'm thinking like we're leaving out a completely different sector in the thought process because the dominant culture is still on cars and trucks, and highways and streets.
If I may, Madam Chair, just to kind of repeat back, it's not so much, it's not only that cars are a threat to those modes, but the behavior of those other modes being unregulated present safety issues as well.
Yeah, that's definitely.
All right, thank you.
So I didn't read that in this because I think I immediately thought of other forms of transportation, but that's a good point. And do we need to suggest that it specifically says safety of whom? Like that it's not just highway safety, it's safety in crosswalks and in neighborhoods and.
Madam Chair, Mayor Daggett, because this is a listening tour, we can say pretty much whatever we want. So I think we can offer the perspective that Member Williams mentioned, to say that this is another point that needs to be taken into consideration when they do their long-range transportation plan. That it's not just regulatory practices related to vehicles. There needs to be safety expectations for these other modes as well.
I'm sure. Just to stand corrected, and looking further into the packet, page 55, there is a section that's dedicated to multimodal needs are no longer optional, and it gets a little bit more into what I was speaking to. So maybe that's already being taken into account. So
We'll take a closer look.
You. Any other questions or comments? Thank you. Good update. Moving down to item 3, discussion on Arizona Department of Transportation lighting standards. And we were up again.
Up again. Madam Chairman, members of the board, we've been following this issue for a long time. Obviously, Flagstaff has a long history in dark skies. A bit of that history, we introduced the use of high pressure sodium to meet our lighting spectrum standards to help protect the integrity of the astronomical activities here. Or excuse me, low pressure sodium. Low pressure sodium lights kind of fell out of practice, aren't being developed. We went into a period of researching LED lights that would meet that standard and came upon one. And the city, working with the local observatories, developed that standard. And that's going to be utilized by the city going forward. And there was interest in seeing ADOT adopt a similar standard. And we, as MetroPlan, submitted that to their standards committee for consideration. We have been waiting patiently for the committee to take action, and they have rejected our request. And they rejected that request based on this blue light sufficiency. Blue light helps us to distinguish colors, color rendition. And apparently an individual, apparently with some status, said, hey, it's got to be 70% color rendition or, it doesn't meet expectations. An expert, world-renowned expert, study, by a study by this expert who actually attended our Dark Skies conference a decade ago, was offered as evidence refuting that position. That is like, no, you really don't need color rendition in order to detect movement, in order to detect form and object, and basically to improve safety. But that argument didn't win the day. The project manager, who is, I'll say, sympathetic to, I'll say, our position, is, what's the word, pessimistically, going to try test some local lighting that the manufacturer says meets both standards. But it's very difficult to, what we're trying to do is get rid of the blue light down to a very narrow, very narrow spectrum of that amber color that we're so familiar with. So expanding the blue light is kind of counterproductive. Maybe we'll get lucky, that standard will be met, and we'll have a light that ADOT can use. In the meantime, there is this project for ADOT to install lighting locally that does meet the standard. So we'll be in good position. I think the issue at hand is what to do next. And my point here, again, this item is for discussion only, but maybe we can get a sense of direction here. I think there were hopes that if the standard were adopted, we could work through the Dark Skies Coalition, the observatories, and others to see it expanded across parts of the state, maybe even parts of the Colorado Plateau, where dark skies are greatly, of great value. And we know that the benefits of dark skies extends well beyond the observatories and the astronomical research, even beyond the national security issues at hand, which I think might be why Flagstaff is being treated as an exception. But it has serious health implications as well as ecological benefits. And so those things are compromised and the ability to expand the use of this standard. So, do we want to, as an organization, continue to advocate for this and pursue it? And I'll offer some ideas. We're going to be a laboratory coming up here shortly. We're going to have these lights installed. Do we do a study? It could take years to get the data to suggest that it's safe. Do we look for a coalition? Do we try to advocate and get more people on board behind this? Do we try to appeal? I don't even know if there's an appeal process, but do we, bring in the expert and bring more evidence to try to appeal? Obviously, that anything like this is going to take time and resources, and we'll have to consider that. But those are the points for discussion. Just wanted to give you an update where that is. In some ways, it could be the end of our efforts, or else, depending on discussion here, we'll look for direction to move ahead. So, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Board. Questions, comments?
I have a question.
Jason.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am curious, I am sure that the process for Flagstaff to become Dark Skies took a long time. When I arrived here, that was already in place, so I don't have the community history about how that came about for the city of Flagstaff. But I would suspect it wasn't easy because you were going against a norm, a standard. And And what I have seen is that insistence for lots of good reasons locally, of fighting to make a change, sticking to that has gotten Flagstaff to where it is. And so, as a member on this board and, a member of this community for the almost last 7 years, I think that it would be in the best interest for us to continue to move forward with that argument, because that is the only way change takes place. And ultimately, like, I think about how that concept can get expanded into other communities and other states that have a vested interest, if they really thought about the economic impact that would have on their community to drive that same kind of approach, could draw tourism and a whole different lifestyle, not to mention the other things that you've already mentioned, Dave, into the equation. And if Flagstaff isn't doing it, who is? So I certainly, as a member on this board, believe that that is critically important to the community. And that continuing to look, even if we do a study, and it takes 5 years to get a study done, collaborating with NAU or somebody to make that happen, it's worthwhile because it has a ripple effect. And I think it's something that Flagstaff and this community would be proud of, that we are continuing to embrace that need and that expectation.
Off that, we're celebrating the 25-year anniversary this year of dark skies. Both the city and the county have ordinances around dark skies, and the fact that we've had them for 25 years and ADOT still hasn't changed its policy on lights means we still got some work to do. And I would think that this group would also be a good group to be advocating for that. So that way we can, at least in the Flagstaff metro area, so that we can work to reduce that lighting issue here, but also impact ADOT moving forward statewide. So that way there's, like, I know, like, there's a Cameron where there's some lights that are an issue, and there's some places that these lights are disrupting some of the dark sky economy per se, and what opportunities are being missed for those communities because of the impacts of the lack of dark sky economy. So I agree. I think MetroPlan should take a position and actively advocate for it.
Thank you. I agree with what you both said, and I think that we have a lot of scientific knowledge in this community, and that we could probably find someone at NAU who could get some grad students to also participate. And I can't speak on behalf of city staff, but perhaps our dark skies code compliance person could be involved. And I think, do we still share a person with the county?
I think so. I believe so.
We could be first yet again. Getting so tired of winning.
That's all we do.
Exhausting. I am in full support as well with my colleagues. I am wondering, staff-wise, do we have enough time and staff to keep trying to move this forward?
I'll defer to our executive director.
I think there are things that we can do that are within our capacity. I think, for example, some of the ideas Dave rattled off that we've chatted about are, maybe we have a 1-day summit or a half-day summit where we get experts in the room with the ADOT team. That wouldn't take a huge level of effort. If that doesn't go well, maybe, I think we have a discussion with the director of ADOT to say, did this ever make it to you? What authority did the person who decided no have, and is there an appeal? We could have those conversations. Getting into a study, if there's going to be funding behind it, that might take figuring out what funding are we using, how are we doing it? But I think we could baby step some things forward, and then let you know when it starts to become a lot.
Are there any ways that we could use, like, talking points that when we go down to the state, even more, when we go to the state transportation board, just putting it out there, like very public comment?
Yeah, we could definitely be working that in. We have made a couple public comments. You may recall when we did the State Transportation Board dinner at the CDL course, we actually had Lowell out there with their telescopes, and Lowell gave a little talk about the importance of dark sky and street lighting to the state board. I'll talk about this in a moment, but we are hosting the Transportation Summit. And we're trying to do an event with Lowell to specifically talk about streetlights and that would be the State Transportation Board, but also local electeds across the state. So maybe that idea of coalition building could come out of that too.
You feel you have enough direction?
Immensely so. Thank you.
Well, thanks for bringing this forward. Moving down to safe routes to school update. Kim. Yay.
Good afternoon, Chair and Council, or Executive or Board, sorry. Kim Austin, Transportation Demand Management Planner. You'll be seeing me a lot over the next few months giving Safe Routes to School updates. So here we go. Just a quick reminder about our MetroPlan Safe Routes to School program. There are two components to our program. There is a programming side and an infrastructure side. And so you'll see reports from both today and periodically over the next few months. So today you will see two presentations from both, updates from both. Infrastructure is turning earth, studying sidewalks and roads, all the things. Programming is more education-based, encouragement, those kinds of things, just to distinguish between the two. MetroPlan's Safe Routes to School program is broken into 3 phases. Phase 1 was last year, and it was to observe travel behaviors, make connections with the schools, and to encourage more walking and biking. It was kind of the beginning stages. This year was phase 2, and it was all about data collection. And we collected student travel tallies. We did bike ped data. And basically we were collecting this data to create some walk and bike sheds, really to identify and assess how kids travel to school. And just kind of get a good landscape of modes of travel in Flagstaff. And then we can identify the deficiencies, make recommendations, and really try to get strategic on those recommendations for phase 3, which would be implementing those recommendations, education, encouragement, and then potential funding opportunities if that's the way the recommendation shows. So that's kind of the way our program is broken into the 3 phases. Okay, so programming. So right now, our overall goal of the Safe Routes to School program is decrease congestion, increase active transportation, safer roadways, better physical, mental, emotional health of the students, stronger neighborhoods, communities, all the things. So we are working with Mountain Mojo. I came to earlier. We have a contract. We are working on an educational toolkit for PE teachers, and it's specific to physical education teachers. And there are 2 components to this toolkit. One is an educational booklet that we're putting together with specific bicycle and pedestrian safety education curriculum, and it's grade specific. And so it's for lessons that are specific for PE teachers to implement bike safety at the K through 12 level all the way through. So kids will get bike and ped safety all the way through their education. Right now, they're not really receiving that in school. And I think it's really important for kids to receive that just as human beings. If there are no sidewalks, where do you walk? Where do you cross the street? Basic stuff, not just how to walk to school, but general. So we have 19 of these with the 19 schools that we have been working with. And we went on the curriculum and standards. And anyway, so we have this toolkit. It's not quite done. We're almost in the final draft stages. And but we've already spoken with Superintendent Pensa and the Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum at FUSD. And we're starting to work with the PE teachers to see how this is going to be implemented within the PE teachers program starting next year. So that's in the works. In addition to the toolkit, we're updating our website. And the website, we want to be more user-friendly. And there's going to be two components to the website. And one is going to be a forward community-facing website. And that will have data. We have report cards for each school. And so you can click on the school and see what your school, there's a report card, and you can see the walk shed and all the different things, resources on how to start a walking school bus, how to do a bike train, Safe Kids Worldwide, all the different International Walk to School Day, all the different resources that a parent, community teacher would want. And then there's a private side for PE teachers with added curriculum resources, anything that they would need to run the curriculum and resources for these programs that we're giving them. Okay, so that's the website, the toolkit. Then we would like to host, the plan is to host a training. There's going to be two parts to the training. One, we're going to train the PE teachers in the fall, right before school starts. And then the second is we're going to host a workshop, and we're going to bring the National Safe Routes to School Partnership to town. And we're going to have a half-day workshop with our stakeholders to really talk about the why and why Safe Routes to School is so important. And so I don't have a date on that yet, but that is in the works. And then the last part of the programming is we are going to pay for 2 PE teachers to attend the National Safe Routes to School Conference in October. And I will be accompanying them. They haven't been identified yet, but that's in the hopes that they can really get excited about the program, bring back all the knowledge, soak it all up, bring it back, and implement those programs within their schools and within the district. Okay. Okay, so now on to infrastructure. Should I have stopped? Do you have any questions? Should I stop now?
Any questions so far?
I'm just throwing a lot of information at everyone right now. Okay. Infrastructure. So we have the 3 different task orders. Task order 1 is the left turn feasibility study at Pine Cliff and Cedar. And this is a partnership with Mountain Line. And we've had some workshops, and the preliminary information suggests that a left turn out is actually feasible. Now, is it safe? Is it something that Mountain Line operators want to do every day? We're still working through those details. So we're going to have another sort of field trip with some of the engineers from TY Lin, and we're going to go back out and we're going to take measurements and really going to kind of hone in on dimensions of buses and how long. It would be a 2-stage slip lane. I don't have any drawings for you, but basically what would happen is on Cedar, the road would be widened as you're coming down to create a left turn out lane, like a median, to where it's a queuing lane to where the bus can turn and kind of stage before merging into traffic to head down the hill toward Turquoise. Did I explain that well? Okay. I can draw, but I guess no one else is online, so I can draw it if we need to. Anyway, so we're working through the details of that to see if it really is something that we want to make sure it's safe for the operators and we don't want there to be, you know, we don't want to increase the crash risk or anything like that. So we're still working through the details of that. Task order 2 are the Knowles area and Snawa School area improvements. So the concepts here that are being discussed are to extend the street design and roadway design from the Butler 4th roundabout project up the hill and to continue that all the way through the Fox Glen intersection. So it would be to take the bike lane off of the road, a larger sidewalk, that kind of thing. Just to kind of keep that design cohesive through that school area. In addition, on the Sinawa side of the road, the entrance into Mustang Way, shorten that driveway. It's a really big driveway. Extend the median so you can shorten the driveway. Obviously, you can't shorten it too much because fire access needs, so there's a limit, but definitely shorten it. There's quite a bit that can be shortened there. And then increase the safety of that intersection, you know, green paint, enhance intersection there. I'm trying to think. Update the entrance into Maverick. So to create a median so vehicles can no longer take a left into Maverick from Butler. They'd have to make a left at Fox Glen, and then they have to come in that way. They can't take a left off of Butler, which would help reduce the conflict points there. And then at the Sinawa entrance, kind of redesign the entrance. Right now they're roundabout, and I don't know if you've been there, but when you enter their roundabout, parents can enter, they can make a left, they can enter from both sides of Mustang Way into the roundabout. And so there's a lot of conflict points with kids crossing. And so reducing that by not allowing a left in, and so, and not allowing a left out. In other words, the only way you can get in is coming east. My directions are terrible. East on Mustang Way, and you can take a right into the roundabout, and then you have to take a right out. Does that make sense? So you can no longer make a left in. Did I explain that? No? Did I lose everyone?
Visualize.
Do you want me to draw it?
I'm visualizing it too, and I think I crashed.
It's a difference. It's a difference between going counter or clockwise, right?
Okay, we don't have to go up, right?
Traffic is able to split on its own. There's no way to force it into.
So if you have a roundabout here, and this is Mustang Way. Oh, okay. This is Mustang Way. So the drivers have to come here, and they can only go this way and out that way, and they can no longer come in here. So reducing this, so changing traffic pattern, because right now, drivers can come in here, so they can come in this way.
Okay.
And they can go out this way. Does that make sense?
So just out of clarification, that's the roundabout right in front of the school entrance on the stairs. Okay, because originally when you were talking, I was imagining
Sorry.
over on Foreshore Butler, further that way, so
Okay.
that's helpful, thank you.
And then in addition, I didn't have any drawings for you. I don't have any concepts, which otherwise I would have shown you on a piece of paper. In addition, creating a crosswalk right here, which it would be diagonal, and apparently that's a big deal. The engineers like, oh, we don't create diagonal crosswalks, but that's the way the kids walk. And create a sidewalk. There's no sidewalk on this side of the road, so create a crosswalk to a sidewalk. This is where they actually walk. There's only a sidewalk on this side of Mustang Way. So
let's put a sidewalk on the place where they walk. So that would be some of the high level.
Concepts that we're discussing at Sanawa.
Is there funding for this or just for the design of it, or is this just part of the strategy that we're trying to promote?
Yes, these are just concepts. And then once we have an idea of all the concepts, then we can talk to FUSD and talk about, that would be in phase 3, is looking for funding opportunities and really discussing how to tackle some of these issues.
Along those lines, is it possible for MetroPlan or the city of Flagstaff to obtain money for infrastructure on a public school?
Yes, if the city was willing or MetroPlan was willing to spend money in that way.
Okay,
Possible. I think FUSD has a lot of interest in that.
yes, well, I don't see why they would. Okay, all right.
Should I continue to task order 3? Okay, task order 3 is the Northeast area schools. And this is a partnership with the city of Flagstaff. And I have notes. Oh, that's right. So it's there it is, the third screen. I'm sorry, there's 3 screens and I get messed up. Okay, I apologize. Okay. Oh, we had a workshop on the 24th and we talked about a lot of concepts. There are 6 areas that we discussed, and I don't have actual finalized areas, but I can tell you things that we discussed. So we discussed Isabel in front of Coconino High School. And obviously we need to narrow the road and decrease speeds. And so some ideas that were discussed were some speed humps south of Felice, narrowing the road, and enhanced crossings at Dortha and Felice, some curb bulb outs to reduce the turn, to make it harder to turn. A bike boulevard was discussed along the Coconino High School side. Let's see what else. Rerouting the bus traffic potentially. And then of course, beefing up some of the intersections. And then another possibility was a traffic diverter. And I don't, if you ask me exactly what that is, it diverts traffic, but I don't know more because I'm not an engineer. But it was discussed at Felice and Isabel. Okay, let's see. 6th and West were discussed, and all stop was discussed to stop traffic at 6th and West, and increasing Foots connection. The Foots trail comes down, and so better connection to the Foots to continue on. So some kind of protected bike lane, protected bikeway of some sort along 6th. Moving the crosswalk at 2nd to the other side of the intersection so that it's safer for the kids to cross and it's easier for the crossing guard to help kids across. They don't have to cross a bunch of driveways. On 3rd, which is the other side of Killip, some curb extensions, a crosswalk, a crossing at the driveway so kids can cross the street. So narrowing the road, slowing traffic. A bike boulevard on 1st, which is in the ATMP. Let's see what else. At 6th and 7th. That one we discussed the potential of a roundabout And I'm gonna throw it out there, a peanut.
I'm not familiar with peanut.
Okay.
Two roundabout.
Think of a peanut.
An infinity.
Yeah.
It goes on forever and
If you're afraid to exit.
So a peanut. Again, just
These are all discussions,
this is where, I'm sorry.
7th and 6th
on force.
on 4th Street at
Yeah.
6th and 7th, you know, that weird. Um, and so, just trying to fix that area. There's a lot of crashes, a lot of people want to turn left. It's hard to get across. There's only one side of the crossing at that intersection of 7th. There's a lot of issue at that intersection.
And why don't you do a peanut rather than a traditional roundabout in that section?
The peanuts needed so that it connects 7 and 6.
But basically two
Tomorrow.
roundabouts, one for 6th,
Yeah.
one for 7th, that's in flow together.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then possible 4th Street improvements. We discussed we need to improve a crossing or connection to DCC and potentially Health and Human Services. So that's discussed bus access. So those are the big 3 that we need to cross 4th. And then flowing traffic and maybe narrowing north of 7th and then south. South's a little more difficult because you have a lot more driveways. So just trying to figure out how to slow down traffic, maybe take the bike lane off the road, beef up the sidewalks. That one's a little more discussion still. And then we talked about Cedar, adding a signalized crossing, beefing up the crossing at Eris, and then adding possibly crossing at Main, a signalized crossing. Potentially putting a roundabout at Cedar and West. There was pros and cons of a better intersection versus a roundabout on that one. There was a lot of discussion on this one. So those are the kind of high level. Nothing's been decided yet. The idea is to come out with some concepts and really come up with a plan for the whole corridor, and then take this and take it to the public and really see what we can do, and maybe get a big project together and sort of go with a big project, a big grant or something that we can do the whole thing in a lump sum or something like that. That's the idea.
So we don't have any of this funding identified yet. But this is exciting. I mean, these could make huge changes around these schools.
Yes. The whole goal is to make it more easier for walking, biking, transit, definitely.
The city has some money in its capital plan in the 5th year identified for complete streets convergence. And so I think there's an opportunity to consider using, I think there's 10 million in there, using the 10 million to try to leverage additional money,
Federal funds.
assuming those discretionary.
That's still there.
Well, yeah. Well, here's the question.
But Killip doesn't have any bus service. It's a fully neighborhood school. And when we did our landscape, our existing conditions, 60%, probably more of those kids are driven to school. And they shouldn't be. Really across the board, at least 60% of kids are driven to school in Flagstaff. And so we need to change that, definitely. Okay, let's see. Okay, so happy to answer any more questions.
Thank you for that presentation. Any questions or comments from the board?
Chair, if I may, I just want to really recognize, going back to the programmatic pieces, a level of excitement around the idea of multimodal safety education occurring within FUSD. And kudos to Kim. We're not in any position of authority. That just takes relationship building. And to get that buy-in from the curriculum, the assistant superintendent of curriculum, and the superintendent to include bike safety education in K through 12 for all FUSD students.
It is huge to understand the importance of doing it amongst everything else that they have to get done in a day.
Which is why we want to send them to a conference.
So if I made the reason, oh,
Yeah, the only thing I'm sorry, I stepped off for a minute, I didn't want to interrupt everybody, so I came back here, but, we are dealing with a pretty, big problem, I'd say, with electric mobility, like scooters and all those things. So, we're trying to figure out on campus how to deal with that kind of thing. And I know we're actually helping with the town on a plan for the shared scooter thing, but we're trying to figure out something on an accelerated time frame because it's really bad. These things go, they go 40 and they're weaving and there's accidents and injuries. So anyways, with the bike safety and these ways that we're building these buildings with easy access for ramps and whatnot, it's an imitation for these devices, and I don't know if it's a problem at the schools yet or not. Sure it is.
may I answer? Okay, so those devices are, yes, they are at schools. I was at Knowles doing an observation last week, and 3 kids were riding, they're called motos, e-motos. They're not e-bikes. They don't have pedals that you ride. They're all throttle and they go very fast. And so yes, the bike education does have safety in it. It does have a safety component. They should be ridden in the bike lane and follow the rules. And so you would hope that the education given that will help. I am working with, I am on that committee with them. Yeah. So the hope is to educate, but frankly, a lot of cities have started enacting laws with these devices and making their children have driver's licenses and limiting who can purchase them and who can use them. I know.
By age, so when you say driver's license, a 16-year-old. Okay.
We're not the only city that's starting to see this. Actually, we haven't seen the extent of a lot of other cities are having. My sister's from Texas and she said it's terrible in Texas. And so they're starting to enact some laws and ordinances on who can use them, who can purchase them, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely an issue on campus. My daughter goes to NAU and, she uses a scooter and I know a lot of her colleagues and friends do as well. And I could see where the need is. So there's such a big need for the university to figure out how to regulate that. And it also seems since you're putting the university and the group you're part of is putting so much effort into that could make recommendations both for the city and the county of potential ordinances that we could do that are not so regulating, but enough to address some of these issues that are coming up. Because, NAU, what's happening there is a microcosm of the whole town and the county, just not at the same level. It's concentrated there. And so hopefully some of those lessons that come out of that can be utilized so that we can create some ordinances to give a little bit of direction and regulation to those devices. Because while they make transportation great, there are a lot of kids on scooters and these e-bikes with no helmets. There's a lot of folks that drive all over the place, whether it be, sometimes they're in the streets, sometimes they're on the bike path, sometimes they're on the sidewalk. So there needs to be that education piece to explain what's correct and what's not. And then on our end, there needs to be some kind of enforcement. We don't want to go draconian on them or anything, but we do want to have some kind of guidelines so that way it's safe for everybody. It's a public safety issue.
We're actually considering banning them from inside buildings because it's actually a pretty significant fire hazard. They're being charged inappropriately, so we're trying to figure that out, like how can we have them and charge them outside and have places that they can keep them and charge them and all that, but ban them inside the buildings at the same time, so it's.
Makes sense, but that's difficult because it's not like a bike rack you have currently. A lot of these things, I don't know if you can just type of bike rack, so.
And from a sustainability point, they're far and beyond the best approach for a sustainability purpose of carbon reduction. It's crazy, the statistics. I don't how far and beyond they are beyond cars, public transportation, and all of these methods.
Any other questions? Comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
You're up next for the Ride Your Bike Week 2025 update.
Thank you. Yes, so I'm here to let you know the upcoming events, and so you can plan your calendars accordingly, because our next board meeting is right before it happens. And so here we go. The event is, the week is May 10th through the 16th this year. It starts on a Sunday with farmers market. And we will be out. MetroPlan partners with Flagstaff Biking Organization to host this event, all week event. And we will be out providing education out at the farmers market. And last year, I don't know if you remember, but there was a little class you could take. It was called Bicycle Friendly Driver. And if you brought your certificate, you got a free pair of socks. This year, there's going to be a little class on biking at night. And if you take the little course, it's not very long. And if you bring your certificate, you can get a set of bike lights or some socks. So there's an incentive. And then we have a bike Jeopardy game with trivia on bike laws and where to ride and all that kind of stuff. So we'll be out at farmers market. And then the kickoff ride is on Monday, and Chair Sweet is hopefully going to read the proclamation for us. And that's at 7 a.m. And then that's followed by a ride around. There may or may not be donuts and coffee. And then Tuesday's bike to school day. So be aware, hopefully there will be a lot of kids out riding, which is great. If you want to ride to school with a really great group of kids, meet at Cheshire. Usually there's about 100 to 150 of us that ride to school. Yes, it's a great one to join. And then the MetroPlan sponsored, there we go, event is the Kidical Mass Ride. And that's a community ride. And it's followed by an ice cream social. It's at Seacrest. And we ride on the Foots Trail. And it's about a 3-mile little ride. And Flagstaff Police Department helps us out. And they are our engine and our caboose. And everyone just rides along and comes back and has ice cream and visits. It's a really fun event. And it's all free. And the ice cream is donated by Shamrock Farms, and the cones are from Joy Cone. And so it's a really great event. Yes. And then, of course, Bike to Breakfast is a great event, 6:30 to 9 in the morning. Bike to Dine is Thursday on the website. So the QR code is actually to the website with all the information. So if you want to go there, and there are certain businesses that will give you discounts if you ride your bike. And then Friday's Bike to Work, and Saturday's Bike to Shop. And you get discounts at certain places that if you ride your bike.
I know one place.
So that is Ride Your Bike Week. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you so much.
I'm really important, that'd be always my favorite. Let's see, we're on to our update on the Arizona Transportation Policy Summit.
Chair, members of the board. So as you know, we're hosting the Arizona Transportation Policy Summit this year in coordination with NACOG. It will be at High Country Conference Center. This is a rotating event, so it moves between COGs and MPOs every year, a little different than most conferences that have an organization behind them that put them forward. It really is something where one entity takes on the whole thing one year and another entity takes it on and figures out how to host a conference the next year. So we're very lucky to have Tammy on board, who has some history with hosting conferences and making our lives much easier as we figure this out. It's about a 300-person event, and we're having a Route 66 theme, of course, because it's the 100th anniversary. So this conference takes a lot of effort. And so we have a lot that's already been completed. We are under contract with the conference center. We have room blocks identified. We've figured out food vendors. We've developed sponsorship packages and are ready to start soliciting for sponsors. We've submitted a funding request to APS. They have a different program for how you get funding from them to sponsor a dinner at Lowell for the State Transportation Board. Again, with the idea of emphasizing dark skies. We've had a conversation with the director of Lowell about what that could look like and getting people up into the open air planetarium for our own special event where they may focus it totally on dark skies and lighting and sky lights. So that would be very exciting to be able to pull off. We'll also have an opening reception over at the Gopher Hole, close enough that some people can walk if they want, but Mountain Line will provide transportation between the conference center and our venues as well. And we've got our website updated. So it sounds very simple to rattle off, but all those things take a lot of time and effort. The other big thing we've been doing is focusing on the agenda, right? This is the meat of the conference, and it's a chance for us to set the tone and bring forward the things that we as MetroPlan and NACOG want to bring forward. So we've talked about having an agenda that's built around teaching people how to tell the story of transportation need on Wednesday by having Karen Cruz host a panel. She is our lobbyist, host a panel of state legislators and lobbyist professionals to talk about how you talk to your members of the state legislature. And then bringing in Julie Lancaster, who has a focus on storytelling right now, to work with people to come up with actual stories that they can then tell to their legislators, who will largely arrive on Wednesday night. So setting the stage to train people in the room to talk about transportation needs before the elected show up for the Gopher Hole reception. Then Thursday, we would get into more specific details around transportation needs at the state. We're talking to Arizona Town Hall about facilitating a solutions-oriented event. So what kind of revenue solutions might we bring forward? Director Toth will give a presentation similar to what Dave did today on the listening tour, as well as talk about the state of funding across Arizona and the lack of funding for transportation in Arizona. Then we have a request out to the governor to speak. We'll see. It is right before the election, so I'm not sure what her response will be on that, but she has come to previous events, so fingers crossed on that. Carolyn Kramer is with one of our national associations that we are members of, and she has worked with other states and has national data about what other states have done to create new revenue in light of diminishing gas tax. So she has a fabulous presentation that basically goes through and says, here's what other states are doing, all sorts of creative ideas. They're for the most part not gas taxes. So she'll be able to talk us through that. We'll then have a panel to speak more about those revenue options in a more detailed scientific way, and then a legislator panel to end the evening where they've listened to all this now. And then we'll put them in the hot seat to let them react to what they've heard. And then finally, we'll do the State Transportation Board dinner. We're really trying to convince people to stay the night. The hotel requires a 2-night stay. So we've set this agenda up so that people hopefully will come on Wednesday and leave on Friday. Though we don't actually have any Friday events occurring. We're not advertising that broadly at this point. So that's what we've got going. Very excited about it. And we'll keep you updated as planning comes along.
I know how much work goes into planning that. It looks like you're doing a great job. Thank you.
I do have a question. What's the date that's been finalized for it?
October 14th, we're saying through 16th, which is the Friday. There will be a State Transportation Board dinner, but we will not be hosting anything on the 16th.
That's gonna be pretty wild for us because I believe this conference is 16th, and then we have the county, looks like we're hosting the County Supervisors Association Conference on the 18th to like the 20th, so.
That's true. And then I believe that there are some city staff hosting a conference on planning, the statewide planning conference the next week. So lots going on in Flag those 3 weeks for conferences.
That's what helps our economy.
I wonder if we could arrange some sort of tour or activity on Friday. Lowell always comes to mind, but they will have already been at Lowell.
There are lots of transportation projects we could highlight. And I think that's a discussion that we could definitely follow up on. I mean, one is this building here, in terms of statewide interest, has interest. There's the opportunity to talk about downtown mile stuff that will be coming associated with it. I know the county has an interest in the past of doing tours of the Protect grant infrastructure that will occur. So there are definitely things that we could do on Friday to help assist with staying a second night. That I will say that the Visitors Bureau is also providing ideas to us, just advertising wise, things for people to stay the weekend for.
Thank you. We're down to MetroPlan happening.
Great. So a lot going on the funding front still. Congrats to the city for their award of Arizona Smart Fund money for the John Wesley Powell extension. This is design money. There's a second application that the board will hear shortly from the city for matching funds for a discretionary grant that has yet to be awarded. So that's coming. The Transportation Alternatives Program is open. We're working with partners on submissions. They're due tomorrow. The county is submitting on Cromer Elementary, and the city is working with a historic hotel on Route 66 because historic preservation is actually eligible under this grant to see about doing some work with them to rehabilitate the old Pueblo Hotel. And then on the state level, the Smart Fund bill, the RTAC bill, the West 66 bill, all of our funding bills are basically in the budget pile. So in the next couple of weeks, we will start advocating that those move forward through the budget process, but the hearing process is done. They're all still alive. So this is good news for us. Other things, staff have been doing a lot of training. Tammy took some training with the League of Cities and Towns on open meeting law, public records requests. We did some cost estimating training with Dave. Thank you, Dave, for teaching us all how to use these tools that we have. Staff have also been working on the strategic plans. Remember, that was the topic of the advance. We did not forget about it. We've just been waiting for our next TAC meeting to come so we could talk to the TAC before we brought changes to the board. So we're working through those. And then, of course, a lot of time is being spent right now on the RTAC Transition Committee. And thanks to our RTAC members, Supervisor Vasquez and Chair Sweet for their participation with everything going on with the Rural Transportation Advocacy Council. And that's all I have.
Thank you. I need to know how this tiny staff does all of this. I'm sorry. Is there any discussion items from the great leadership? Sorry. That's right. Anything from the board? All right, our next scheduled executive board meeting is on May 7th. And it will be held at City Hall and Council Chambers.
Correct. Please note change of location. This room is occupied. City Hall.
Assuming we'll get a couple of reminders, because I can see myself coming right here.
So May 7th, myself, Supervisor Begay, and the Supervisor of Enforcement will not be available. So I just want to note that. I'll try, if it doesn't conflict with the work that we're doing there, to get one of us to attend if we need quorum. I'll do my best to be there, but as of right now, just let us know there's a good chance we won't be attending this meeting.
With that, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you all.
Okay, there's awesome.